Okay, it's starting to tape now, and I think I should be over it. So let's see. So this is today's Using Your Grit to Succeed workshop. It is February 15th, 2022, and we are going to learn about what grit is and how to use it. So one of the first things that you can do if you're interested is while you're hanging out and talking, and I'm talking, you can complete the grit scale, which I will put in the chat so that you can click on it and use it. There we go. And that is the grit scale. Pretty easy, quick quiz. It asks how likely or unlikely you are. Here, I'll actually click on it so we can see it. Allow it. How likely or unlikely you are to do different things. So grit is the passion and perseverance for long-term and meaningful goals. So if you ever think about grit, you kind of think about sandpaper and how sandpaper is gritty, and if you rub it against something, it will end up smoothing that thing out. But it also, think about it like Velcro. Velcro sticks to things because it has grit. And that's what we're talking about. That grit is the ability to stick to things no matter what. If you see, this is the grit scale. If you're interested, you can take a couple minutes and you can complete it. Like I said, it is only 10 questions. And it asks if those 10 questions are very much like you or not at all like you. When I did the grit scale about a year and a half ago, I actually scored a little higher than I did this last time. This last time I scored a 4. So I think it was a 4 out of 5, which means I'm pretty gritty, but that I can always do a little better. So grit ends up being the ability to persist in something you feel passionate about and to persevere when you face obstacles. Grit ends up being connected to our success because the grittier you are, the more you stick to things, the better you are at achieving your goals and getting up after an obstacle knocks you down. According to Angela Duckworth, who is the main writer about grit, she says that grit has 5 characteristics. It's your courage, your resilience, your perseverance, your conscientiousness, and your passion. And if you have these 5 characteristics, you will be grittier and therefore probably more successful than others. When you take that grit scale, it ends up telling you how gritty you are and how you stack up against other people. So have you taken the grit scale, Marletha?
No.
No. You can if you want afterward, and you can see how gritty you are. There was another author who ends up writing about grit too, and his name is Paul G Stoltz. He writes another book on grit, and if you're interested, I'll send you this. This is the YouTube for it. And he doesn't just think about characteristics of grit, he thinks about dimensions of grit, and he uses GRIT. He says grit is your growth. So how likely you are inside to seek out new ideas and perspectives. Your resilience, how resilient you are, how quickly or if you bounce back after you face adversity, and if you're able to use that adversity to move forward. He says instinct is another dimension. It's how you go about getting your goals in the best way and not just the hardest way. So to use your instinct to figure out the best way to get what you need. And then your tenacity is your persistence, your perseverance, that never say die attitude. If you persist in things, if you have a growth mindset, if you're resilient after you have adversity, and if you use your instinct, he said you will be more likely to succeed. What's really interesting about Stoltz, though, is that he says grit can be good or bad, smart or dumb. So you could have good grit, which means you go for goals that really enhance you and enhance the people around you. Or you can go for bad. You can have bad grit and go for bad goals, things that bring you down, things that might bring other people down. And he also says that grit can be smart or it can be dumb. So you can have smart grit, which means once maybe you're knocked down or once you think about your goals, you can change your ideas, maybe go for another goal or change the way you go for something. But if you have dumb grit, you just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect change. So what he says is that he wants people to think about the dimensions of grit and make sure that they have good, smart grit and not bad, dumb grit. I mean, we can even think about probably dumb grit. Everybody has that friend who's dating someone and the someone is not good for them and they keep going back to that person after they break up and then the same bad things happen and then they break up and then they go back to the same person again and then they break up. And you're like, why are you doing the same thing over and over and over again? That's so stupid. That is an example of dumb grit. That person has grit. That person has stick-to-itness, but they're sticking to the wrong thing, to some bad partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, who's not enhancing them or their life or their goals. So I really like that Angela Duckworth begins this talk about having tenacity and having, a stick-to-itness, but that Stoltz adds that it can be something that's really good or really bad. So you want to be able to use it in the right ways. Like I said, if you're interested, that is a YouTube that gives some ideas of what Paul Stoltz does. So now that you might have an idea of what grit is, well, what do you do with it? So say you take the test and you realize you're pretty gritty. You're a 4 out of 5. Well, that's great. But what if you take the test and you learn you're a 2 out of 5? Maybe you're not as gritty as you want to be. Well, one of the things you can do is change your mindset, because we're going to talk about mindsets in a couple minutes so that you understand the best way to maybe enhance your grittiness. The ability to be gritty, which she says is like pursuing what is important to you and being able to get back up even when you faced failure, ends up being a crucial component to your success, regardless of how much talent and intelligence you have. So think about this. Talent and intelligence are super, super important for a lot of people, right? But you don't have to be the most talented and you don't have to be the smartest person to be the most successful person, because it is that being able to use any kind of failure and being able to stick to a process or an idea or a program that might end up giving you success. We've all seen that person who has all the talent in the world. So I have a friend who is an amazing basketball player. He is super lucky. He is a giant. He is 6'10". So he is tall enough to be a basketball player, and he has the ability to be the basketball player. He is an excellent basketball player. So he has the talent, but that does not mean that he has the grit or the tenacity to be a basketball player. He was a basketball player all through high school and all through college. And if he really tried, he could probably be playing in the minor leagues or in the NBA, but he didn't have the stick-to-itness. So he's not. I also have friends who end up getting their college degrees, their masters, are in PhD programs. And I'm like, I don't know if they're the smartest person around. Intelligence might not be the key to your success. Those people might be working on their intelligence, but because they are gritty enough, they have enough perseverance, they are able to be successful in their educational pursuits, regardless of how much maybe innate intelligence that they have. When we're looking at Paul Stoltz, if you're interested, those are those dimensions of grit that he gave. It's just in a nice little picture right here. When Duckworth and Stoltz talk about things like growth and resilience, what they're talking about is something called a growth mindset. There are differences between growth and fixed mindsets. It is how people think about themselves and the world around them. So if you look at this little picture, you'll see that a fixed mindset believes that you have intelligence and you have talent and you have other qualities that are unchangeable. You are this intelligent. You are this talented. And that is it. And if you look at the little picture, it says, I'm either good at something or I'm not good at something. I can either do something or I can't do something. I'll only stick to the things I know. And if I fail, it's because that is the limit of my abilities. These are the people who always look, I think, a little more pessimistically. They say, that's all I can do. I got out of high school. I can't go to college because I'm not smart enough. Or I didn't get that job because I'm just not qualified. Or I will never be able to, take dance classes because I'm just not talented as a dancer. Those people have a very fixed mindset. Everything is predetermined. Everything is unchangeable. What is what is. What we want people to really have is an idea of a growth mindset. Because a growth mindset means that you believe that you can develop your qualities with practice and with effort. If you look at this photo, a growth mindset uses words like learn and grow. Feedback is constructive. I like to try new things. My effort and my attitude determine my abilities. And challenges help me grow. Failure is an opportunity to grow. If we think of ourselves as always being able to grow and succeed and move forward, that really plays a major role in our motivation, in our resilience, and ultimately in our achievement and our success. Think about it. Why do people go to the gym? They go to the gym to lose weight, and they go to the gym to be healthy and build muscle. If we can build our muscles and make our muscles bigger, we can build our mindset and make our mindset more successful. It's not that you're not smart enough. It's not that you're not good enough. It's that you now have to have an effort and a better attitude, more resilience, and feel that you can grow and do things. And if you have that kind of mindset, studies actually show that you will be more successful in your personal and your professional life. Those who have fixed mindsets end up being very quick to quit. I couldn't do it. I'm done. That's it. But those who have growth mindsets end up being the people who succeed. So if we're talking about grit, you can take the grit scale quiz, find out what your grit is, and then learn how to improve it. And if you think of things in terms of growth mindsets, how you grow yourself, how you become better at the things you want to become better at, how you choose, good grit and smart grit rather than bad grit and dumb grit, you will be hopefully a more successful person. And I don't think that making yourself a better person ever stops. You're never going to be the best at something because Nobody is. We're always improving. You're never going to, reach the top because you're always going to be learning and growing and moving forward. And there's always going to be some kind of adversity that might knock you down. It's how you respond to these things. And if you keep going, that make you a successful person. So that is a little bit of an idea of what grit is, how the growth mindset works with grit, and that hopefully how we can use it to succeed in our goals. If we think of this in terms of academics, you can see how a growth mindset and grit end up making you successful. Say you're taking a social class. You get your first exam and you get a 72. If you had a fixed mindset or you weren't a gritty person, you would end up saying, I'm not good at this. This stinks. I'm terrible at it. I don't have the aptitude for sociology. That's it. I quit. I'm done. Where does that get you? Get you nowhere. But if you keep learning and saying, listen, I didn't love that 72. So this is now an opportunity for me to learn how to succeed in this class. If you start looking at how you took your exam, what the exam was comprised of, maybe now you say, okay, I know what the exam looks like, so I can work harder next time. I can study better because I know that the exams are going to be mostly multiple choice or mostly fill in or mostly long-term, long paragraph answers. And you start really studying to that, and you read over your essays, you read over the assignments, you read over the textbook. What you're doing is you're growing. You understand that you didn't get the grade you wanted on the first exam, and you're taking that adversity and making it into something that will hopefully make you get a better grade on that exam and then succeed. That's usually the people who are the strongest. I'm not the strongest person in the world. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I was able to get through college and get through a master's degree. Not because I am the smartest human being on earth, but because I worked at it, because I looked at the criticism that my professors gave me, and I used it not to quit, but to write better essays, to think about the texts that we were reading in different and better ways. And that's a grit mindset, is to use your tenacity to really make yourself successful. So we don't have to belabor the point. That is what grit is. If anyone has any questions and they're watching this recording, they can absolutely contact me. Marletha, do you have any questions about grit?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Did this make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're a gritty person?
No.
No? Well, then this might be a time to think about how you can grow and learn and stick to it. One of the best things to do is find something that you felt like you were going to fail at, but you succeeded because you worked hard, and say, oh my God, that was a time when I did really well, and I can do that again and again. Sometimes, we just think that we're not good at something, but if you start to look back at your successes, you'll find out that you might be grittier or have a better or a more growth-oriented mindset than you thought you did. So I am going to ask you, if you can at one point, not that, sorry. I have a little form that at one point I would very much like you to fill out. It's right there. If you could fill it out by the end of the day, that would be great. For anyone who is watching this recording, that form is where this recording is being embedded into. So if you put your name and you answer the questions, you will be counted as attendance for this. And if anyone is interested in learning more about grit, Marletha, if you're interested in learning more about grit, you can always contact me. My email address is Christina_Dilks@bloomfield.edu. And I put it right there in the chat. So thank you, Marletha, for coming. I'm going to stop the recording because we don't need to